Now you have to go deep. You have to look at intersections. Those where I think the opportunities are for investment, for entrepreneurship. For other regions of the world, there are other models, like in Asia. Super apps are, playing like a big game in there. The US can learn micro products, micro fintech products from emerging market. The gig economy in the US is 90 million people out of 330, and nobody is giving lending to these people. It's necessary that we address energy and connectivity to be able to have fully, functional fintech companies. Degrees are good, but they are general. So go for specific certifications in an area that makes you practically knowledgeable about that area, and then do it with your hands.
Hi everyone, Alex here from the Curiosity Code podcast, and today's guest is fintech leader Khadija Khartit, founder of Sohaara, a platform that combines work, skills, and entrepreneurship designed to empower women. Khadija has an impressive 27 years of experience in strategy, investments, and management across the US, Africa, and the Middle East. She's also a Fulbright scholar and has held leadership positions at Shell, American Airlines, UBS, and Exelon. Well, it's almost end of 2024, and many of our listeners may be wondering what to expect in 2025 in global sense for fintech. Khadija, given your deep expertise, you're the perfect person to finish this year for this podcast and shed light on the rising types of fintech we can expect to see across different regions in 2025 and just global perspective of what's happening in fintech. So welcome to the show, Khadija, and let's dive in.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you very much for inviting me. I actually watched your interaction discussion with a person I respect in fintech. I was excited that I get to talk with you and share insights, as you say, about the future, So today is Christmas Eve, and I'm excited to be with you here for a few, an hour or so, and then get going to the holidays. I wish everybody a happy holiday season and the best in 2025 to you, to your audience, to everybody who listens to this podcast today.
Thank you.
So,
all right. So, given your expertise in both traditional and innovative financial systems, which fintech sectors do you predict will dominate globally in 2025 and why?
Okay. Thank you, Alex, for this question. It's important because I have been teaching and advising fintech startups for almost 10 years now, between Cornell, Brandeis, and then a lot of fintech companies around Cambridge area in the US, and also touching a lot of areas in the US and outside, and watching the global landscape. I also interestingly taught super apps in Asia, like Ant, like Grab, to my students at Cornell and Brandeis, talking about embedded fintech. Also, every season I want to teach fintech, I need to update myself because the pace is so fast. My course becomes not adequate, because my students are updated and I need to keep up with them, So I love to read CB Insights, and I will look at those reports that they send every quarter, and I look at the movement, and I compare my notes of last year to this year, and you see the pace, like between 2014 when I started teaching to now, you see it's amazing. In the US, it was like big cycle, and the same cycle, I see it outside the US right now. It's just time lag. There's a time lag, and it started with PayPal, Stripe, payments, P2P payments, then P2M, merchants, payment to merchant. So a lot of payments in the beginning, remittances, then it moved to some sophisticated sectors like prop tech, real estate tech, wealth tech, more, it's like AI now. There's AI ChatGPT, but there's AI for a lot of other applications.
Yeah.
For fintech. In the beginning, we just see the surface, which is pay to pay from your phone, digital, and it's exciting. But really in the back, there are a lot of other applications of fintech that only the domain experts know about, or people who want to go to those domains know about or learn about. Okay. So I see the same. In America, now payment and with Square, now Block, with Stripe in the beginning, P2P or merchant or e-commerce facilitator. Now it's getting saturated. And now the people in America who want to go into fintech as entrepreneurs, they need to be more creative because now the surface, like the front is now served. Now you have to go deep. You have to look at intersections of fintech, like fintech with AI. That will be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Fintech with real estate will be interesting. Fintech with health will be interesting. Okay, fintech with education will be interesting. So look at like strategic sectors or with green climate will be interesting. Look at those intersections. So for people in America, I'm talking, or Europe, developed markets, those where I think the opportunities are for investment, for entrepreneurship, means fintech, new models, and for careers also, because that's where the fintechs will get funded, will grow and will hire. Okay. For other regions of the world, there are other models. Like in Asia, super apps are, playing like big game in there. Grab and Gojek, all that is like they are serving so much, taking so much market share, and there's embedded fintech in there. There are opportunities of partnerships with those because they have the market, they have the users, you can plug and play. So that's my view of that area. Also, the US can learn from them because there are no super apps in the US. Okay. For Africa, Middle East, the way I look at it, Middle East is ahead of Africa. Okay. But
Mm-hmm.
Africa also, interestingly, most of the unicorns that showed up in the last 6 years are fintechs to see the opportunity. But fintechs in payment, okay, using mobile, or fintech in micro lending, or fintech. There's another area, lending, so much of it.
Right.
Yeah, SME lending, because a lot of need and credit scoring is not there. So fintech is helping with that. Also, there is non-banked people. Now they're using their phone. That's their bank. Which is a great opportunity for financial inclusion. So for the people of Africa, the youth of Africa, I would say payment is still a great opportunity. Lending is a great opportunity, and all the other things that I just said, which is intersection of fintech and sectors.
What about cultural and, I think most importantly, regulatory difference across these regions like Southeastern Asia, Africa, Middle East? How do these differences shape the trajectory of fintech innovation?
One thing that we have to agree about is that now the world is a little village. Okay, anything that happens in one area, if it's mediatized enough, it's gonna be known in a lot of places. So the governments in Africa, in the Middle East, in Asia, in Latin America, they want to foster, to promote fintech in the country. So there is a lot of studies and efforts to explore what possibilities are there for regulation,
Mm-hmm.
to serve innovation while protecting the consumer. So there is that will. You can see a lot of initiatives. You can see a lot of regulators are reaching out to consultants outside their country. There's a lot of conferences, a lot of summits, a lot of meetups of people from the same domain so that they can exchange notes. And whatever happened in America that worked, a lot of people in Africa want to know that, want to learn that. Governments are studying that. So there is you can see a tendency to relax more regulation and balance, because these countries also have their own challenges. They have it's not the same. I mean, the situation in America is not the situation in Nigeria or Morocco or Kenya or South Africa, or Southeast Asia or Latin America. Every government has their own priorities and constraints. Based on that, they try to relax or strict the laws, but in general, they are curious to make changes to the
Mm-hmm.
regulation. And there are, for entrepreneurs, if I want to give advice, open your eyes and read what's happening. And regulation also hold dialogue with the regulators, because they want to hear your constraints, your ambitions and goals, and probably they're going to include that into the design of laws and regulations. Okay, but every area that you mentioned, the regions that you mentioned, like Middle East, there is Islamic finance and Sharia compliance, but there are also sandboxes. And there is like experimentation going on. In Africa, there is more protection and hard currency protection. That also is an issue. So there is more of that concern that needs to be complied with when you want to do a fintech in Africa. In Latam, there is more like a lot of unicorns coming up, like in health, in e-commerce. So there's more diverse, in my opinion, of economy. So fintechs have to see how to serve those rising industries. Okay, in Latin America. So all these are peculiarities of the regions, and the entrepreneur needs to go into that market and look at it, like spend time before they make a decision about what business model they want to do.
Are there any specific subsectors of fintech, in your opinion, that been mainly shaped by regulatory landscapes, in particular regions? So if, like you said, if I were an entrepreneur and I wanted to explore a specific region, do you have any subsectors that stand out per region, just as a great opportunity to dive in and stay there, as you said?
Yeah, yes, we can give the example of the Middle East. There is Sharia compliance, Islamic fintech. So there is like now clear regulation around that. If someone wants to go to the Middle East and do like a new product in fintech, they have to be aware of this. And if they customize to that large segment of the population who are looking for Islamic finance, they need to take into account that. And there is regulation for it. So they need to work with the scholars, and they need to work with the right people so that the design of the product takes care of that aspect. If you are dealing with Singapore, for instance, in fact, as we are preparing for this podcast, it was interesting to look at Southeast Asia and look at Indonesia having 350 million people, looking
Right.
at Malaysia having 36 million people, looking at Singapore having 6 million people. But a lot of things are happening in Singapore. Singapore is, like, you see the name as often as Malaysia and Indonesia, even if the population is very little, because Singapore government worked long time now. I was watching them for 10 years building sandbox for fintech, and that attracted entrepreneurs from outside Singapore, attracted investors, global investors for fintech, and that helped emerging, like making fintechs emerge from Singapore, but serving the whole Southeast Asia. So that is a lesson to watch, So small country, but the right environment allowed something. The UAE is also an example in the Middle East. It's not a large country in terms of population, but because of the DIFC, Dubai International Financial Center, and Abu Dhabi global market, they did sandboxes also and attracted entrepreneurs from anywhere, and they are building fintech products that end up becoming fintech startups and then fintech global companies.
Any particular subsectors of fintech, like payments, lending, blockchain, you see having the most potential in those regions?
Where UAE and Singapore?
Let's just cover one by one.
Okay, so for me, the UAE, because of the wealth of the demographics, wealth management is a great place because of high net worth individuals that are there, so they can be served in many ways. Also blockchain and DeFi, because of also the literacy. The UAE and KSA, also Saudi, now are advancing in becoming very aware and informed about what's new. You can see the movement in AI right now, the ranking. UAE is number 6 in the world in AI readiness right now, and KSA is number, I think, 37, and it's going to go up. It's going to go up.
Hmm.
Yeah. So fintech is the same. So there is that readiness. So blockchain, crypto, and also the currency movement is not an issue. Okay. Also remittances could be a product there, because there are a lot of expats that send money outside as sent, outbound remittances. But in Africa and Asia and Latin America, it will be inbound remittances. So there is a lot of sending from expat immigrants who are of African origin, working outside their countries and sending money back to their home countries. That also is a product that's always useful. And the
Yeah.
fees are high, and there are a lot of work to be done so that the fees go low. Okay, so that payment and micro lending, as I told you, also
Hmm.
credit score. That's not, it's very classic and traditional and established in America, the credit scoring. In other countries, there is none. So to lend, you need some, data so that you can do underwriting. AI comes into play now, because it will
Hmm.
be automated process with AI, and let's see, how accurate, how consistent, all that. But credit scoring gave a lack of it, created an opportunity for alternative data. Okay, and mobile finance gives the means so that that alternative data is there and can be processed and can be used for decisions about micro lending. Okay, also the purchasing power is low, the income is low, so micro products are the right products for those markets like Asia, Africa, Latin America.
What about more developed countries, North America and Europe? Any opportunities that you see there for
I
2025?
see opportunities in learning from emerging markets, because as I told you before the show, is that there is a lot for the US and Europe to learn from emerging markets, and there is a lot for emerging markets to learn from the US and Europe, because of this market, developed market, is advanced and did it. But did
Hmm.
it in a big way, in a wealthy way, in a structured way. This market is now building it up, and it has new situations like specific. So the US can learn micro products, micro fintech products from emerging markets. Like in the US, Andreessen Horowitz, there's a lady there that I like. She says it is expensive to be poor in America. Why? Because everything you have to do is with cash. With you don't have, you're not banked. Maybe you're underbanked. So everything you have to do with the old way, and the old way is expensive right now because fintech gives you cheaper services. So the poor in America lives more expensively. Okay, and also there are a lot of immigrants and
Hmm.
minorities in the US, and they need some specific products, to serve them. Microloans will be that. Like predatory lending in America is very expensive. Look at the rates, like 30%. If you don't have a good credit score, you don't get funding, lending. So we would love to have like alternative scoring in the US, so that people who don't have good scoring based on the classical model, they can be, customers for the alternative lenders at a cheaper way. Because maybe there's something, Alex, that I want to tell you, and I always think about it. The gig economy in the US is 90 million people out of 330, and nobody is giving lending to these people. Whenever you go to the bank wants a W-2. They don't have that. They have 1099, which is the gig, but they don't give mortgage for that. So what to do? They are still making money, but the bank does not count those. They don't fit into the classic scoring model. And the
Right.
scoring model is too old. It is time to update it.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity, especially given that the open banking technology is advancing to the US. In one of our previous episodes, we talked about open banking here in Europe and how it's about to, actually arrive to the US. And I think this is the great opportunity that you just covered, like lending in combination with open banking technology. That could be a thing. This
Yes.
is
And
great
also, it's
insight.
good for including people because they talk about financial inclusion, but economic inclusion is not real. You can have a bank account, but you have to serve these people so that their bank accounts or wallet is full of money. That is inclusion.
Right. Now, US and Europe and all developed countries, they have built quite a good infrastructure that now they can leverage on and build new fintech products. But developed countries in Africa, Southeastern Asia, some countries in the Middle East, they're still struggling with infrastructure. In your opinion, how can these regions address infrastructure gaps while fostering cohesive and scalable fintech ecosystems?
First of all, like the Middle East is doing a lot of headway in terms
Hmm.
of infrastructure. So when the Middle East GCC, like the oil countries are advancing very notably in investing in infrastructure, even AI infrastructure.
Right.
Okay, but of course, when we go to Egypt, North Africa, and go to the Middle East, which is still the Middle East, the Mediterranean, you start to see the patchy broadband and challenges. Not so much electric, but more like broadband, like internet or digital divide. Yeah, so that needs attention and needs also investment because when you look at Africa and you see that most of the people are included financially through their mobile and they don't have good connection, it's a disconnect there. Like there should be some investors and startups that are working to close that gap of bandwidth, connectivity, all that. Starlink is one of them. I don't know how much they covered of Africa. I heard lately that they entered Morocco, by the way, the words, because I'm from Morocco. So the Moroccans were like, what is the impact of telcos? If you look at M-Pesa in Kenya, it's a partnership with telco. And that's what
Hmm.
created this big fintech inclusion in Kenya, which is beneficial for the country. So we need more of those initiatives that like twin fintech with infrastructure because that's an issue. Fintech cannot exist without infrastructure. Fintech would not exist without a phone. Okay, so it's necessary that we address energy and connectivity to be able to have fully functional fintech companies.
Totally agree. Totally agree. And I think investment is a big part of this. Without government investment, without external investment, that wouldn't be possible. What advice would you give to investors seeking to support promising fintech startups and fintech ecosystem in general in emerging markets in 2025?
As we can talk about fintech as a core, and we can talk about the ecosystem around fintech, which what we just did, which is the infrastructure.
Yeah.
And you made me think about solar. And also, when I was looking at fintech in Africa, there are fintech that are giving micro loans to solar. Like for energy because it's decentralized and
Hmm.
it's not grid. So there's that distributed grid. In homes, they use solar energy, but they pay them in micro payments. And it's a fintech service, which is interesting. I don't know the details of it, but it's an application that is very useful and can be applied anywhere. So for investors from abroad, like let's say the US or Europe,
Yeah.
coming to Africa or to Southeast Asia or Latin America for investment, there is this that told you two ways learning. They know what they have done or what worked in the developed and mature markets. They can bring that expertise. They can bring seasoned developers that worked in those scenarios and they have experience. But they have to mix them up with teams, local teams. Local teams should be domain expert. Like if they're going into lending, they have to be expert at lending in those countries. Like I didn't mention one big name in those emerging markets, Rosca. It's a way of lending. Rosca is like rotating, like community that gives like an amount to a person one time every month or something. Those are very popular in Africa, Middle East, Latin America, and Asia. It's community based finance, no interest, it's just rotation. Those are
Hmm.
like a model that fintech can tap into because it's coming from culture. and it can be digitized. Okay, that doesn't exist in America because everybody goes to the bank to get
Right.
loans. Okay, even if it's expensive. So that is some learning to be transferred. Okay, for investors coming from the US, let's say, to these markets, they need to have their team smart, expert, domain with experience, also communicative. They have to know what people are comfortable with, what they are not comfortable with, how to build that trust, with digital. And then education. Education is a big thing about your product. Like in America, there are good products, but not all people know how to use them. So only youth and and savvy, digital savvy, they use them. The others are intimidated. Even if they have the money, like in wealth management, they don't use those robo advisors because they don't know. They go and they pay a financial advisor or bank the big money. They don't know about this opportunity because it's intimidating. Okay, we have always to keep that in mind. Whether in US or emerging market, you need to adapt to the market and the consumers of the market, and also educate them about that, because it will take a while to get. But the good news is that Africa, Asia, Latin America, 60% of the people are youth, so they're digital
Mhm.
natives. So that's not an issue. You need to educate them, but they know already. They have used a lot of applications, and they can pass that knowledge to the other app. So that's not, but only the product and your UI, UX, and all that, you need to show them how to use it and why is it, and also build. There's one thing that I want to bring up here. And when we talk about the US, you say, oh, it's a safe environment. It's not. It's not. Look at FTX. You know what happened with FTX. You
Yeah.
know what happened. And those are regulatory mistakes, because that company did not have the Chinese wall between finance and technology. So that also is a lesson to be learned by other markets and by the US, so that it's not repeated. There's always that marriage between technology and finance, risk management.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Risk management um, is a king.
Yes.
Financial services,
Yeah.
financial
Other than that,
technologies.
the trust is gone. Other than that, that's it. That's it. When a mistake is done by a company, the others pay the price, even if they didn't do anything, because the whole sector now is perceived as risky.
Absolutely. Khadija, I'd like to wrap it up and we've talked about fintech and fintech ecosystem, a global scale, the regional scale, then we zoomed in on specific subsectors and different opportunities in different regions. We covered the perspective of investors and what they can watch out for when they're looking for investments in regions in 2025. Now, just to wrap up this episode, let's look at people who are in the industry, like entrepreneurs and young professionals. What skills and knowledge should they focus on developing to be competitive in the global market in 2025, in your opinion?
That's the $1 million question. Everybody's asking that. Because of AI, everybody like, what do I do now? What do I learn? Everything is like spit up by Chat GPT or Claude. Yeah, but the answer that I hear all the AI people say is like, get familiar with the tools. Yeah, but for me, I'm gonna say that too. Get familiar with the tools means like go and look for, not AI specifically, but the tools. Also, I want the potential fintech professionals and potential entrepreneurs to be immersed in the practicality of fintech, because
Mm-hmm.
fintech is the combination of finance with technology tools. Okay, so either you come to fintech as an engineer, or you come to it as a finance person like me. Okay, and then if you come to it as a finance person, you have to know your finance really well, not just the top of it. You have to know, if you are lending, know lending inside out, and know psychology around lending, know regulation around everything, and know soft skills, because they are king now. In the AI era, soft skills are king. When we say soft skills, it's critical thinking, people understanding, emotional intelligence, right? Ask the right question, be real. Be real. Don't be just, okay, yeah, I got it. No, if you don't
Mm-hmm.
get it, say why. Why? This is the way humans, these are the humans that will be employed in 2025. The others will be redundant with AI. Okay. So I highly stress that your audience become authentic and become real learners. Like if you don't get it, ask, no, I don't get it. Explain to me more. Why is it like that? Why does it not? Why there's a risk? Why will it work? Why did it work? Why the other did not work? All these questions that are real, ask them, because that will makes you more competitive than the other one next to you. This is for the learners, or like interview for question for jobs, or for the entrepreneurs. They need to see what worked, the rising and why. Don't go with the hype, go with the why, and then look at things that are not seen. Like I just talked about micro lending. Nobody cares here in America about micro lending, but it's huge. If somebody knows how to do it, build the system, there will be a lot of customers for that. If the system is done right, but people do not spend time. They think it's a small market, it's negligible. It's not. So also for any of your listeners, I want them to pay attention to intersections: fintech climate, fintech health, fintech mobility, fintech agriculture, fintech education, fintech construction. Those with smart models, if they do that, they're going to be first to do that, or it's not too saturated. So if you go with what everybody did already, then you have to be better than Stripe and PayPal to make it. But if you go into niche solutions, probably you're going to be the next Stripe of construction. Probably. So I love intersections. And to do that, you need to be a curious person. Curious, learn, ask about the sector, become domain expert. Okay. And connect with the doers. Follow the influencers in the industry and read those things. Maybe reach out and to say, I want to talk to you about this. Read the books, listen to the books. I'm an audio book listener a lot. So do that more. Or podcasts also like yours teaches a lot, because you bring practitioners. So I want your audience to, link to good podcasts and listen. And when they do, go and research the personalities. See what did it, how did it work for them, why. Reach out to them on LinkedIn, because now, we are in a golden era. Like big doors are alive. You can reach out to them even before it's a book that you read and you say, oh, it is. But another golden thing about our era is that you could be in Lisbon talking to me in Boston. I could be here talking to a great person in somewhere in India, and learn from him or her.
Yeah.
So it's only your limit is you. Your limit. I'm talking to your audience now. I need to look to the camera. Ladies and gentlemen, your limit is you, because anything you want now, you can go to a social place and you can reach out to that person. And I am almost like 80% he's going to answer you, because you just want to learn. Don't ask for anything. Don't sell to them anything. Just ask to learn, because learn is more important actually. With time, you're going to know, So this is my advice to you. And get certifications in the area that you want, like specifically. Degrees are good, but they are general. So go for specific certifications in an area that makes you practically knowledgeable about that area. And then do it with your hands. Get internships, do it with your hands.
Khadija, I'm speechless. This is so good. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your insights, wisdom, knowledge that you shared with the audience. Thank you for being with us. It is so good.
Thank you so much, Alex. I appreciate the opportunity, and I hope we're going to talk soon in another podcast.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sure.
Happy holidays.
Yes, happy holidays. And for the listeners, don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed that. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. And see you in the next episode. Bye.